I've never served in the Army, Navy, or Air Force, and have only an outside perspective on what soldiers might actually experience in real combat. War films, depending on who's directing them, can at times have a political bias. It's a romanticism about defeating an opposing force that might be an ideological threat to one's existence. There's nothing to glorify about the movie I'll talk to you about today, though. War is awful. There's silence, and then there's the earth-shattering boom of an explosion. Warfare was released in cinemas in 2025. Written and directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. Starring Will Poulter, Cosmo Jarvis, and Joseph Quinn. Each actor played a specific member of the team, and when I watched it, I couldn't remember for the life of me who was who. I had to check IMDb after the movie. To be honest, it seems irrelevant, as this movie is more of an experience of war that drops you straight into the combat. It makes you feel like you're literally standing right next to these soldiers. And honestly, we don't really need to know everyone's name. It's not important. We see all of it. The plot of the film is based on a true event which transpired in 2006 in Iraq, where a platoon of Navy SEALs are faced with a desperate situation to survive a terrifying mission. There's levity in this film because you know what? No matter how serious a situation you might be walking into, dudes will always be dudes. We flip each other off. We goof off while using night vision goggles. It's just what we do, because there's always light in dark times. And we need to kind of be reminded of that. The first 30 minutes or so of this film is definitely a slow burn. There's just a lot of sitting around and waiting for things to happen. There's muffled comms chatter. Overwatch, what do you see? What'd you sit rep? Over, out. We also got guys who are just doing push-ups, just to keep themselves primed and ready. Also, just random discussions teammates are having between themselves about missing hoodies at bases and stuff. So it's basically everyday small talk. So it's quite relatable because it's kind of a boring job when nothing is actually happening. I don't think I'd be alone in saying that in the quiet moments before the storm, things are kind of boring. You could be forgiven for a lapse in concentration, forgetting where you are, because everything is pretty normal until it's not. An aspect of this film that is really strong is communication. Leadership is critical to the survival of a cohesive unit. When things hit the fan, you need a calm, direct, and assertive leader. There's a moment where a devastating explosion happens and communication basically just flatlines. There's a real eerie sense of muffled distortion. There's complete confusion among the men. As the viewer, we're watching these guys, and we never really know if they're all going to wake up, if some of them are going to wake up, or if some of them are just going to cross straight over into the afterlife because they're being critically injured. One of the guys in the unit just stood frozen, not knowing where to go, what his role was, what he needed to do, whilst others around him were able to snap back into reality a lot faster. Communication is so vital because there's an immediate urgency to take command of the situation. We got to retrieve backpacks, weapons, and comms equipment. And also, we need to get the hell out of here and call for a ride. There's a great bit of communication detail in this one moment where a squad leader has to confirm if the ATV, which is an all-terrain vehicle, will pull up to the left or right of the front gate of the house that they're in. And it's really critical because a single turn in the wrong direction, an inch too far left or right, could cost you your life. There can be absolutely no hesitation. The realistic cover formations that soldiers use to move in formation fluidly through exposed streets felt like we were a part of the team. Make sure you have my back and I'll cover yours. We got to be constantly in sync with one another, providing second-to-second updates whilst constantly laying down cover fire. There's a moment where two lightweight machine gunners are on the roof of the house that they're in, having to repel enemies on rooftops across the street. They are completely exposed. Bullets are striking walls inches from their body. One has to cover the other while the other reloads, but they need to regroup with the squad. So they have to crawl back agonizingly slow back to and bullets just pinging everywhere, and it's just anxiety inducing, and I'm just like, get inside. The awful reality of this film is what really stuck with me, especially in this one moment when a jarring IED, which means improvised explosive device, blew up. I went and saw this with my dad, and I really felt uneasy about it. I wanted the screaming to stop, as our platoon members are critically maimed. We have men that have to drag their other men back into the house who are screaming in agony. Being rendered useless and dependent on your teammates to alleviate the pain was a struggle. Men's bodies are cut up, pulverized, there's blood everywhere. And it's the toll of war. The shock that overwhelms our brains to process and act rationally is overridden by fog. Cognitive processes have been impacted to such an extent it takes longer to come back down to reality. This placed an enormous burden on our platoon, having to take greater responsibility to help the team survive because the numbers were starting to dwindle. So things were becoming very desperate. The understated moments that felt scariest to me was actually the dead silence. Our team lined up ready to move in assigned formation to defend or advance on position. Sometimes a minute or two went by and nothing happened. Are we safe? Am I in a more secure position in front of the building? In the middle of the pack of my men? At the back of the building? What is my fate? How many enemies are we up against? When will it end? The sounds in this movie are just incredible. For instance, when the lightweight machine guns start going off inside the building, opening fire on the enemies on the exterior was deafening. There's another moment later on in the film where some ATVs show up and they basically pound buildings to provide cover. I mean, these are heavy mounted cannons that decimate enemy positions to provide a window for our team to advance. It was crazy. Not to mention the roar of a low flyover jet, made more terrifying as a viewer, as they would set a 2-minute countdown and it literally felt like 2 minutes. The distant ripping sound these jets make as you can hear them off in the distance just flying around, you know they're up there, and it's a deterrent to keep you at bay because you do not want to poke the bear. In conclusion, I give this movie a 5 out of 5. I've never seen a war film like this before. It was so intimate that it was so unreal of an experience. I just had to sort of sit back and soak it in at the end. I mean, sometimes a film comes along that grounds us in an unpleasant situation and it challenges us and makes us appreciate that there are a very, very small select few people in the world that do what 99.9% do not do. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a good day.